Yes.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Opportunity Zone. I'm Nate Armstrong. I'm joined by my co-host,
Chris Lavin. How are you doing, everybody?
Hey guys, a lot is happening right now. We had the big, beautiful bill. It just rewrote the rule book for you as an investor. We're going to go through how to capitalize on that today. We'll give you the breakdown. We'll also talk about why the Midwest has gone from what they called the stepchild of the industry to now being one of the strongest performers for multifamily investments. We're going to dig into a little bit on this Powell interest rate Trump battle that's going on.
It's an arm wrestling match.
We're going to talk about if rate cuts are inevitable or if they're just not going to happen. We're also going to talk about why Green Bay right now is becoming a mecca, an investment mecca in the country. So all of that and more on today's Opportunity Zone. Chris, you excited to talk about the BBB?
The BBB, I'm all about it. And we're not talking about the Better Business Bureau, people.
Well, the BBB, the Better Business Bureau, probably gets a lot of free advertisements.
Hey.
Did you know they're not a government entity?
I did know that, and they can be bought too. But that's another business lesson altogether.
All right, we're going to get into everything we just talked about and more on today's show. We're going to do a quick lesson. I'll ask Chris to bless us, and then we'll jump into the news. So I want to take us back in time for a minute. There was this scene where we had Jesus talking in a temple, and it probably looked a lot like this. You can see right behind Chris and I what it would look like. And he's out there, and there's some folks that really don't like him. They're trying to basically trick him into saying something that could get him into trouble. And they flip over to him and they say, "Hey, Jesus, tell us, should we pay taxes to Caesar?" Now, keep in mind, during this time, Jesus had followers that he was taking away from the church. He was upsetting the religious leaders because of his talk about the way that life should be. And he was basically saying that the way that they're doing things now is not right. And so they're trying to trap him. And so they figure if we get this man to confess that we shouldn't pay taxes, if we can get him to say that, we can have him arrested for being an anarchist. Okay. Now, on the other side, if he says, yeah, just pay taxes, he could upset some of his followers because some of his followers believed that we shouldn't be basically giving money to someone who worships pagans, which the Roman government was basically pagan. And if you look at the coin during this time, he asks for a coin. He says, "Hey, somebody give me a coin." And you can see the image on this. This would have been Caesar, and there's some Latin words or Greek words written around it. And it says "Son of the Divine." And what that basically was implying, Caesar was implying himself to be a god. So some of the followers would have been upset about him saying yes to basically this practice. And so what does he do? He instead says, "Pay to Caesar what is Caesar, and pay to God what is God's." Okay. Now he didn't have the big beautiful bill, Chris. He didn't have a third choice. He didn't have this way to say, "Hey, you don't have to pay taxes at all legally. You can instead benefit the government through investing in real estate." But we'll talk about that a little bit more. But that's what Jesus did. Pay to Caesar what is Caesar, pay to God what is God's. On today's show, we're going to break down what the government is going to allow you to do. If you want to maybe make a positive ripple in the world and pay to God what is God's and not pay so much to Caesar, then you don't want to miss this episode. It's going to be a doozy for you. Chris, could I ask you to give a blessing for the day?
Absolutely. Heavenly Father, first and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge who you are in my life. I made the decision that you are everything and everything is a miracle. Please, please, please bless this conversation and allow us to pass some wisdom on to everybody that is listening to us so that they can have a better, more fruitful life and benefit more from the presence that you've given them. I ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. All right. First up, Chris, we have the state of Oklahoma making headlines. The governor, he vetoed a bill. They were trying to make evictions easier in the state of Oklahoma, and it got to the governor's desk, and he just said flat out, "No way, Not happening in my watch. So now they have the toughest eviction laws in the country. Takes 3 days on average to go from basically, hey, you're in default to, hey, you're going to be standing in front of a judge. What do you think about this, Chris?
So listen, I love this. This is one of the reasons that we do business in red states, and that's not a political statement. It's just that these are the kind of things that benefit us as landlords. But I want to say this, we are not heartless. So even though this is a tool that's available to us, and I'm all for it, because this is for the people. There are people out there who literally work the system. They'll come in and they'll pay 1 month's rent in California, right? They pay what they have to do and move in. You don't get them out for a year. I got a friend that there's literally a tenant in Massachusetts, hasn't paid him rent for 10 months. And because he said the wrong thing in an email, this guy is still there. That's not true in Oklahoma. We have property in Oklahoma, and we're purchasing another property in Oklahoma. We're working on that, right? What I'm saying is this: we are not heartless people. We don't operate our business that way. Believing more is what we do. But this is a tool that's available to us to get rid of the deadbeats. If somebody's struggling and they come to us and talk to us, say, hey, this is what's going on. I've lost my job. Can I have an extra couple of weeks? Can we work out a payment plan? We're all about that. But this keeps the deadbeats out of your properties, gets them out, and makes it so that you're not upside down in your property, even though it's full of tenants. I love this stuff. I love this stuff. I just absolutely love it. There's no offense about it.
Yeah, last time I checked, even if a tenant is struggling to pay rent, you still got to pay the mortgage.
Yeah, no matter what.
Insurance, you still got to provide safe housing. So you got to have some balance in this. It's a two-way contract.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of the Oklahoma governor for standing up, even though he had a lot of pressure not to. Chris, let's talk for a second about the housing shortage situation. We've got some shortages going on in the country, California being the prominent one on the map.
Yep.
Hawaii's pretty short right now.
Yep.
New York is fairly short right now. And Florida's, it's on the side of being short as well.
Right.
What's your take on what's going on?
What's my take on what's going on? Well, we know what happened in California, right? The wildfires, you know. Yeah, the wildfires is the reason for that, in my opinion. It was tough before, but the wildfires made it worse. Florida, I'm going to say this, and this is not based on facts. I can't sit down and tell you the numbers and give you the data. But what I believe is these numbers are based on current population. It doesn't take into account the people that want to move here, right? So there's a whole bunch of people that want to move to Florida because Florida's a cool state. We have no taxes, lots of sunshine, beautiful ocean. It's a beautiful state to live in. So I don't think that's taken into account. And you know, New York is New York, right? It's a financial capital of the world, as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot of hustle, bustle, and money to be made there. There's arts there. There's a whole bunch of reasons for people to live in New York City. I'm just not a fan of big cities, so it's not for me. But I think that's pretty much the analysis of what's going on. What I was shocked with was Oregon and Washington.
Yeah, pretty light on housing too.
Because I don't want to live there. All it does is rain. Not for me. I'm sorry. I get depressed.
Yeah, you would not be a happy camper. Chris, we got to talk about the big, beautiful bill. So this thing got...
What's that?
Yeah, what is it? What is it? Actually, let's start there. Let's start with what is it for my 11-year-old son sitting at home and anyone else that doesn't know what it is. What is the big, beautiful bill?
Okay, so I'm going to try to be as politically unbiased in these statements as I possibly can be. I just happen to be a fan of this, and I'm a fan of what's going on because of what I do for a living and what I believe is right. So this has been Trump's initiative from the very beginning. He promised all this stuff, but so if you reduce taxes on people earning money, they have more money to spend. Sounds like a basic concept, right? And with that more money to spend, they're going to put it into the economy. And then what happens? It livens up the economy. It gets things stimulated and get things moving again. So in the very basic explanation of this takes money out of the government's pocket, puts it back into the people's pocket that are going to use it to impact the economy the most. People that are multifamily housing, businesses, you know, those kinds of things. It gives all kinds of incentives to people that are financially trustworthy and financially intelligent. So in my opinion, 30 seconds or less, it's it's an economic stimulus package.
Chris and I are going to break it down, this economic stimulus package, as Chris is calling it. We're going to break it down from a real estate investor's perspective right now. keep in mind, it's massive. It's 900 plus pages. We don't know everything. Like we went through it and we dissected it as a real estate investor. What are the pros and cons for you? You're our people. So that's the way we're gonna approach this today. I'm gonna put up some of the key provisions, and those of you that may want a copy of this, we did quite a bit of research to pull this together. Know that for the folks that do calls with us, I'll let you know how you can do that in a minute. We give a copy of this. So we've got the breakdown of all the pros and cons, but we'll go through some of it together right now. So first, Chris, when does this start? If I bought a property 6 years ago, can I get the tax benefits today?
Of course you can't.
When can I? What?
So listen, it's so funny because we were talking about this earlier. Everybody's like, oh, it's retroactive to the beginning of the year. It's retroactive to the beginning of the year. Not quite so much. January 19th. If you bought a property from January 19th, put it into service. In other words, it became available for rental. This is multifamily real estate. I'm not an expert on the other arenas. I'm not even an expert on this. I can only share what I've come to learn. As of January 19th, it's fully eligible for 100% bonus depreciation.
Okay, January 19th. So if you're taking notes, write down January 19th.
Yes, sir.
If you bought a property from that day forward, then it's eligible. Okay, next one, Chris. Let's talk about this restoration of 100% bonus depreciation. What does that mean?
What does it mean? It means that one of the primary reasons that I got into real estate is not going to be declining anymore. It's permanent. If you remember during the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017, it was set up as declining 100% the first year, 80% the second year, 60, 20, 40, 20, so on and so forth. It was to be phased out in 2027, I believe, if my math is correct. This makes it permanent. So it's flat, 100% moving forward. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't expect this to survive another president if that president is from the other side of the aisle. I just don't. Right? But as far as I'm concerned, as long as Republicans stay in office, this is going to stay in effect, and it's going to be beautiful. Does anybody in this that's listening right now understand that with the 100% bonus depreciation, that will have a positive impact on the net dollars you'll have in your pocket at the end of the year if you buy multifamily real estate? If you believe that this is going to positively impact you, put yes in the chat.
If you believe that this could have a net positive effect for you, put a yes in the chat. So what Chris has just described for us, this bonus depreciation, like it sounds complicated, but it's really not. I think of it kind of like a tax credit. It's not a tax credit. Can't call it that because your CPA will be confused. But Jennifer and I, my wife and I, we've got 3 kids. Every year we get a tax credit of about $2,000 per kid. So every single year, just for having the kids, we get $6 grand off on our taxes. When we invest in multifamily, it's similar. It's not called a tax credit. We call it depreciation dividends here. Your CPA will call it passive losses. But when you make an investment, you can take some massive, massive tax breaks. You might not have to write the IRS as much of a check or possibly even eliminate that check. Chris, you've got a copy of your check right there. How much is that right there? That is a $54,000 check and some change, and that came
53 and some change.
53 and some change. That came why, Chris?
Because I bought lots of multifamily real estate in tax year 2023. So I got that big fat check in 2024 as a result. There's nobody. Do y'all remember that when Trump and Clinton were back, Hillary, not Bill, were on stage and they were going back and forth during the debates, and she goes, "You haven't paid taxes in years," and he said, "Because I'm smart." This is exactly why he didn't pay taxes in years, because he utilized the tax code to offset his income from all of the stuff that he had going on. He just kept buying real estate, buying real estate, buying real estate, developing real estate, developing real estate, developing real estate. As a result, no taxes are paid. So listen, the formula to wealth is two-sided. It's not just what you make, it's what you keep, and also what you keep, how's it turning money for you.
Now, there's going to be some folks that are going to hear that, Chris, and like my first CPA, not the one I currently
studiato, as they say in Italian.
And he said, well, hold on. Those tax benefits are temporary. The moment that you sell a property that you're taking all these tax benefits on, you're going to have to repay all of those. What do you say to that?
I say nay, nay. There are two ways out of doing that. One is to 1031 your property into, 1031 your gains or your property when you sell it into a like property, and you literally just carry those tax benefits and you keep carrying them down the road, carrying them down the road, carrying them down the road. And then you know what? You carry them down the road until the day you die. And then the day you die, they get reset to zero. And when they're reset to zero, if you're smart and you set your estate up correctly, it gets passed on to your heirs and they don't have to pay any of those taxes back. Now, why would I ever do that? Why would I keep moving it down the road? It doesn't make sense. How do I benefit? How do I benefit from, these appreciating values in this property? See, this is the whole strategy with real estate, why you've got to be educated in this stuff. Because as the assets appreciate and get larger and larger and larger, you refinance them. You pull the money out in a refi, because debt is not a taxable event. So you're still putting money in your pockets and you're walking around like Mr. Big Jeans, right? But you're not paying taxes on any of this money because you took it as debt, and then it's reset the day you die. So these are the whole tax strategies that you utilize to keep from not giving Caesar what is not his, right? You got to give Caesar what his due, but you don't need to be giving that sucker a tip.
You guys probably, if you want to dig deep on this stuff, make sure you come to our 3-day event. Write these dates down, the 17th, 18th, and 19th. If you want to come to that, just put in the chat event, and our team will send you a link for it, event. And
Can I answer these questions?
Please.
Lydia, to address you specifically, she's asking, does that only offset passive income? Listen, there are rules and guidelines to set this up, to do it correctly, and there are ways you can actually set up your W-2 income if you do everything correctly. But this is not, this is not the time and place to have that conversation. Please book a call with one of our guys, talk to somebody, and we can walk you through the whole process. I'm going to say this one more time. I am not a tax attorney. I am not a CPA. All I can do is share my experience as to what I've done successfully. And then it's up to you to verify that information to your own CPA and your own tax attorney to get it right. I just know that I am not doing anything shady, crooked, or even gray with the IRS. They do not play. So everything we do is way above board.
Chris, you already talked about the 1031 exchange.
Yes, sir.
That was made permanent, so to speak.
Yep.
They didn't touch it. A lot of people thought that they were going to touch it, but they did not. So it's been preserved. Let's talk a little bit about the SALT deduction cap. What on earth does this mean, and how do we take advantage?
Shouldn't we just talk about the SALT tax to begin with?
Yeah.
Okay, so what the SALT tax is, just to make it very simple for everybody, it allows you to take the taxes that you pay to your state and deduct it off of your income on your federal return. I love this, by the way. I'm gonna get back to that in a second. But what they've done is they've raised that cap from $10,000 to $40,000 for people earning $500,000 or more, I think. So they raised that cap. But why is it important for me?
Up to 500.
Up to 500,000.
Cut it at
Yep, cut it at 5. I apologize. Up to 500,000. So why is that important to me? It's because I live in Florida. Well, so what, Chris? You live in Florida. Listen, why do people want to live in Florida? One of the reasons that people want to live in Florida is this: we don't have any state income tax. Right? So there's a potential financial gain by moving to Florida. This helps even that out a little bit, right? So yeah, you're going to pay the taxes in your state, New York, and then you'll be able to deduct it from your federal tax return, so that at the end of the day, you and I, even though I'm living in Florida, will be at the same net tax basis. So you don't have to move down here. You can stay up back in New York and New England and all of that stuff up there. And you don't have to move down here to get the same tax benefits that I enjoy. It's just a little bit different formula. So what that helps do is it balances out, the SALT situation balances things out. And now they've raised that cap to 40,000. So there's even more reason for you to stay up in New York.
Or Jeff says Oregon.
Oregon.
Okay, so that deduction cap,
I'm just being funny, by the way. I love New York Chinese food.
that deduction cap has been elevated, so it's no longer the 10,000, now it's up to $40,000. That's up to the income of 500K. Anything beyond that, the cap comes back into play. Let's talk for a second about what it means to have permanent opportunity zones, permanent qualified opportunity zones. What does that mean, Chris?
What that's basically is saying is, what was it, 10 years, it would cycle 10 years previously, that you could be ousted as an opportunity zone. I apologize. So you've built this business model and this financial model around this opportunity zone, and then the next regime comes in and it's no longer an opportunity zone, and now you're like, right? So this allows for those opportunity zones to stay permanent, so you can make permanent financial plans for that. You know, there's a small percentage of me that's against this, because I think at some point, once you stimulate the economy and things are going and blowing again, right? Everything's just going and blowing up. I think that maybe that should be pulled back. I can go either way on this one though, but again, back to, if I base my financial models and my investments on this opportunity zone being long term, I think I should enjoy the benefit of that security. Yeah, I'm 90% for, 10% against, if
Cool.
anybody cares.
Let's talk for one more minute on this whole bill. Okay, you've got one of the big takeaways from this is that there's possibly some social program cuts. They're talking a lot about Medicaid. There's debate on this, but they're saying, well, hey, there's going to be some folks that are cut from food stamps, the SNAP program, and then we already know that this administration, they're trying to get able bodies back to work. Okay, your thoughts on this?
So this is a tough one, right? And the reason it's a tough one is because I don't want to sound non-compassionate. But I have a real problem getting up in the morning, working 12 or 14 hours a day, and me funding the lifestyle of people sitting at home, sitting on the couch playing video games all day, smoking weed, drinking, not really participating actively as a productive member of society. So understanding that that's my perspective. Also understand that I grew up in housing projects, okay? So I grew up in housing projects, and so I understand that side of the coin. And I see the people who were struggling, you know, single mom, 2 kids, like she's working and there's just not enough for her to go around. I think those people need help. But you know, this is the big debate all the time. Our system is really designed for those people to fail, and it's really terrible because if they make just a little bit, you know, $1 extra more an hour, all of a sudden they lose their benefits. So what's going on with this is they're trying to do a complete revamp. So it's better to it's a better program to get people off of. And if you're an able-bodied working person, then there's no reason for you to be sitting at home. You should be required to go out looking for a job and doing some stuff.
So for you investors at home, what Chris and I have, where we've steered the ship is away from subsidized housing.
Yes.
As a rule. So just, we know that there's going to be cuts. They've already been announcing cuts. This just kind of codifies even more cuts to social programs. When SNAP benefits goes away, it affects the family that's renting from you. That's more money that they used to have, and now they don't have it. So we're getting away from anything and everything socially funded, essentially.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, Chris, I'm going to change gears on us. I want to make sure we have time to cover this. We've got Mr. Jerome Powell has kind of been in the spotlight. He's taken a lot of heat on interest rates. He's holding them high, even though all the numbers that he said he would lower them on, he's still saying, no, there might be inflation in the future. There's an article, or not an article, but a video surveillance that was done. A young lady went on a date with a gentleman that works for Mr. Jerome Powell, and this is what he had to say, and I just want to get your reaction.
Right now, I'm preparing for something. We'll do to the Fed board.
Meet Harel Gizmo. He's a principal economist working inside the Federal Reserve.
So you write speeches for Powell?
Yeah, like for, certain paragraphs. I'm just really worried that I'm saying stuff like, stuff that's classified.
Do you deal with classified stuff?
It's all classified.
Quote, it's all classified.
It's all classified. Trump is a crazy person. It's very weird. I mean, he's a dumb guy. Like,
You hate Trump? And like, is the feeling?
of course.
Okay, yeah.
And Trump was president, he wanted to stimulate the economy.
Right.
But he wouldn't do it. He started raising interest rates, doing the opposite. So, I mean, so the feeling is this, that like, we don't want Trump to be in government.
Right.
Harel Gizmo, principal economist with the Federal Reserve, says Jerome Powell wants to go down in history as someone who, quote, held the line against Donald Trump, unquote.
He's doing it for the legacies.
All right, Chris.
Looking for a legacy at the cost of the American people. Listen, I've been talking about this for months. I've been saying the same thing. Here's what Trump went wrong. Trump told this guy, hey, you're going to do what I want you to do. Not even an employee of the federal government, right? The Fed is a private company. It's not owned by the government. It's not controlled by the government. And Trump went at him, and Powell was like, you big guy, watch me. I'm going to stick my chest. And they've been doing this back and forth. And you know who's suffering? You and me. I mean, this is insanity. If you look at the interest rates across the world, we're like, I think we're the third from the top or something ridiculous. This is nuts. There's got to be a way out of this. And I don't know what it is. And I think at this point, the only way it's going to happen is if Powell steps down.
Yeah, we're a big apology from Trump and they sit down.
Having it?
It'll happen the same day that he apologizes to Elon Musk and they reconcile.
Yeah, that ain't happening
It's a
either.
big powwow.
But they may reconcile, but there'll be no apologies. Trump will be like, yeah, Elon finally saw the error in his ways. That's the apology. That's the way
So,
it works, my friend.
so are interest rates going to drop or are we going to hang in this perpetuity of high interest rates?
Okay, so I'm a pray for the best, playing for the worst kind of guy. And so all of my business models currently are as though the interest rates are going to remain flat for the next 5 years. That's the way we're underwriting our properties because I don't want to get stuck with anything.
Yeah, that's a smart play. For anyone looking at investing right now, just plan for the long haul,
Yeah.
doing business in this interest rate environment. That
You
way
know
they're-
what? And then if it goes down, we're in high cotton.
High cotton. You think people understand that phrase?
No, probably not. It means we're doing really good if you're a Southern folk.
All
It
right.
means the crops are really fruitful.
All right. I gotta pop up a little more data for us, then we gotta switch gears. This is
Your data.
the multifamily supply. You can see that supply is actually coming down. So basically what happens is that when builders are building multifamily, it takes them 2, sometimes 4 years to actually get one through the whole pipeline from planning, development, all the phases. And right now what's happening is the supply chain of it is dropping. So we're having less new construction property come online. Chris, how does this work for us? Raise the roof.
Raise the roof.
Raise the roof.
It's a simple formula, economic formula, one of the most basic of all ages, supply and demand. The more demand, the less supply, the higher the rents, the more profitable the properties are. Bottom line.
Yeah, and we're seeing that, like literally the new construction stuff that is coming online, like this one came online in downtown Green Bay. We have an asset right around the corner from this, but it's being gobbled up, like just gobbled up right now, and there's not a big pipeline coming behind it.
Nope.
2-3 years ago, we had a whole bunch of new construction being delivered, but now it's not happening anymore. Now you're going to see rents rise.
Yeah, for sure.
So our existing buildings, we're going to see a nice uptick from it. Chris, I want to actually put up that building because this will probably be the last time that you guys see it here on the Opportunity Zone.
Yeah, they might not even be worth putting up at this point. There's less than like 10% left.
Yeah. Those of you that are looking for a deal, no, I'm going to just softly put this one out there, but it's probably going to end up being a wait list situation because we are verbally committed on it. We don't stop until all funds are in, but we got full verbal commitments on this one, $6.5 million or so in cash raised. And it happened really fast. A lot of people came at this and put $1 million+ into it. But let me tell you about it. If you want to join our wait list for the next deal or try to grab one of the last spots for this one, this is your opportunity. And team, if you could put the link in the chat.
There you go.
The team, okay, Sue already beat me to it.
Yeah.
So you click the link in the chat. If you don't see a link, just put the word call, C-A-L-L, on the social media platform that you're on, and our team will private message you a link to book a call. But essentially, we've got this deal in downtown Green Bay. This is one of the hottest markets in the country. I know you haven't heard about it before, but let me tell you about why it's a hot market. Number one, Green Bay, Wisconsin's been on the top 10 list for best places to live consistently over the last decade. It ranked number 1 in 2023. And so what it's doing is it's attracting a whole bunch of high income earning people. What do I mean by that? Let me go full screen on this for a second. So there's 2 cities, Palm Bay, Florida, and then Green Bay, Wisconsin, that have basically been taking all of the people making 200 grand or more per year. It is kind of strange for me to see Wisconsin leading this chart.
I still don't understand it.
You,
I don't know why, but you know,
you don't like
I don't have to
cold.
understand everything.
You don't like cold. But
Did I mention the whole Florida thing a little while ago?
So I like cold. I'm from Minnesota, the neighboring state to Wisconsin originally, and like I love this. People love this city. So high income earners are moving to this place in droves. So what's happened is that in our particular asset, you've got doctors, you've got pilots. There's actually 16 surgeons and/or doctors that live in this building right now. and you got high income earners moving in. It's right downtown, right on the riverfront. It's the Fox River, which opens up to the Great Lakes. It's a fantastic location. The other thing about it, we look for this in all of our assets. We want to know that there's people moving there, not just the high income earners, but people in general. In Brown County, which is where Green Bay sits, it is forecasted to be the leader in Wisconsin this year. They're expecting more and more people to keep moving there. So it ends up being a nice little place. So, Chris, anything else you'd comment on Green Bay?
Keys is good. The building is 9 minutes from Lambeau Field. No, other than that, listen, there are people who hate the heat of Florida, and there are people who love the snow in the seasons of Wisconsin. And that's the cool thing about Wisconsin. It has all 4 of the seasons. In Florida, we have hot and hotter.
So the way that hot and hotter, yeah. The way that investments work on this thing is that we have 3 different tiers. We don't have any room left for our tier 3 right now, but we can do a wait list for our next property. Tier 3 is $1 million plus. What that gets you is a 10% preferred return, and up to, we're forecasting 22%. That's 10% during the project, essentially, or in the middle in some way, shape, or form. And then the rest of it as soon as we exit, which is 3 to 5 years. Tier 2 is $500K or more. That's an 8% preferred return. And then on the backside, we're forecasting that that's up to 20% internal rate of return. And then tier 1, that's $100K minimum, and that's a 6% preferred return. And on the backside, we're forecasting an 18% internal rate of return, or up to 18% internal rate of return. If you're interested in exploring that or getting on our wait list, then use the link that's in the chat. Book a call with our team. We want to get to know you a little bit and figure out if we can match your investing goals, most importantly. Also, if you want a copy, our team pulled this puppy together. If you want a copy of all the research that we did coming into what the Big Beautiful Bill contains for investors, if you want a copy of it, then book the call with the advisor, and the advisor will give you a copy of this as well. Cool. Chris, anything else you want to hit today?
Nope, I think that'll do it. Yeah, that'll do it. But listen, one thing I want to advise is if you choose not to invest with us, but you are choosing to invest, please, please, please make sure you do your due diligence. You're investing wisely with the right people who have your goals in mind. I'm here to tell you, we don't partner with 100% of the people that come to us to invest because we're just not like-minded and we don't have the same goals. So make sure that the people that you invest with have your goals and your safety in mind, really, and so that you can multiply the talents that God has blessed you with. So whatever you do, invest wisely. God bless. Thank you all.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Cheers.
Bye.